Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about environmental issues. This is one of the sections of Section 9 of UGC Net Paper 1. I'm Dr. Cynthia Menezes, former professor, dean, and director of the MBA department, also former acting vice chancellor of Bangalore University. I hope this video will help you to answer your multiple choice questions. So let's begin. The syllabus I'm covering today is this one: environmental issues, local, regional, and global. Then we cover pollution, air, water, soil, noise, and noise. Then we cover waste. Next, we will cover climate change and its socio-economic and political dimensions. Now, what are environmental issues? Any harmful effects of human activities on environment are environmental issues that we need to be concerned about. Now, which are these human activities that are harmful to the environment? They are global warming, overpopulation, deforestation, pollution, and burning of fossil fuels. Each one of these we will cover in one slide each. What is global warming? Global warming means the heating up of the environment of the earth as compared to previous years. It is actually defined as the long-term heating of the earth's surface since the pre-industrial period. That is, we are talking about between 1850 to 1900 and afterwards. Has there been a change in the heating of the earth after 1900 and before 1900 basically? Now, how is this heating happened? Due to human activities like fossil fuel burning, which increases heat trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. Now, what do you mean by this? Fossil fuels are petroleum, oil and gas, all this, like kerosene, diesel, petrol. These are all fossil fuels because their origin is due to the fossils that are found in the earth, that is, the death of animals, plants millions of years ago. And these millions of years ago, the fossils, have created the fossil fuels. So, what happens when we burn these fossil fuels? There are gases created, and these are called greenhouse gases. It is the gases created are carbon dioxide it can be through cooking, through transportation of through automobiles, etc. Then methane. Methane occurs due to decay of organic waste. Nitrous oxide, that is treatment of wastewater, creates nitrous oxide. And fluorinated gases. Now, if you see, there was something called CFCs, which were there in, we were using those cans which we used to spray, and these had hydrofluorocarbons, which they said caused a hole in the ozone layer. Now, when we come to all this, we have to understand that because these gases go up into the atmosphere, they do not escape and they create heat, and overall the earth gets warmer. So much so that the ice caps of the North Pole and the South Pole are getting melted. Now, next, population. What do you mean by population? Population means the overall number of people living in a said area in a given period of time. Say we have a particular area, and in a particular period of time, how many people are there? This is the population. Population content and texture generally indicates power, wealth, and human resources. For example, the demographics of the population, the education of the population, these are all like the education of the population, the culture of the population, these are all characteristics of the population. So they indicate power, wealth, and human resources. It could be the standard of living of the people in a particular area, etc. In Bangalore, an IT firm can be established because human resources who are capable of working in the in information technology field are available in Bangalore. When that is why it is an indicator, population becomes an indicator in this case. What is overpopulation? When population rises to a level that exceeds the supporting capacity of the environment. Now, in a particular city, there is a supply of electricity, housing, water, sanitation, and such facilities which are basically essential for human habitat. But they are limited to a certain number of people. When the number of people in that particular city increases such that the electricity supply or the water supply, drinking water supply, or the housing or sanitation is insufficient, then this is called overpopulation. Resources required for human survival are water, food, clothing, housing, amenities like electricity, transport, safety and security through law and order situations, law and order system, communication, energy and healthcare. Ecological degradation, competition and conflicts for existing resources and resources will happen. See, when the resources are few and there are many people wanting the resources, there will naturally be competition and conflicts. And after all, see, if when sanitation is not there and people use the open air and such things, even the disposable of garbage is not taken care of and all kinds of waste, it leads to ecological degradation. Then there is large scale contamination, and this large scale contamination contaminates the water sources and the air, etc. Pollution happens, then the spread of diseases and possibly the endemics, pandemics, etc. are to be expected. What are the effects of overpopulation? Basically, shortage of resources. There is extreme pressure on existing resources. This leads to depletion of resources because the extraction of resources are faster than the replenishment of resources. See, when it rains, all the ponds and lakes are filled up, and this water is supposed to be sufficient for human use till the next rains. But if there is so much of extraction of water that before the next rains, the depletion of water happens in land, in lakes and rivers, then it is called, the effect of overpopulation. Fresh food and water are affected because there is a pressure on and there's a great demand on fresh food and water. Then deforestation happens. Deforestation means cutting down of trees for furniture, making furniture. For agricultural purposes, you want a plain land. Then you want, maybe you want to do mining, you want to make dig for oil or gases or ores, then you need to cut down the trees. Then prospecting oil, etc. Trees are cut down faster than they can be grown, then it is deforestation. See, afforestation means creating more trees, planting more trees. But if afforestation, the rate is lower than deforestation, then deforestation wins. Then soil degradation. Repeated agriculture diminishes the fertility of the soil. So without giving space for the soil to breathe, if you keep on planting, and then there are some natural methods by which you can replenish the fertility of the soil. But if there is no time given for the replenishment, then the soil degradation happens. Then another thing is overfishing. Fish are extracted more than they are produced. See, in coastal towns and all that, there are certain months of the year, fishing is not allowed by the government because that is the time when fish breed. So if you go into the sea and catch the small fish which have just taken birth, then there is no time for this fish to grow up and breed again. So the government does not allow fishing when the breeding of the fish happens. So overfishing is when you take out more fish than what can be produced, replenished. Then effects of overpopulation, another effect is environmental degradation. The demand for resources increases. there is more requirement for water for potable, that is drinking purposes, cooking purposes, for washing purposes, etc. This leads to lowering of water levels, contamination of existing water resources. See, I was just looking at some northeastern states and I find them so beautiful. For example, I was looking at Shillong because I intend to travel, and then I was looking at Tripura. And very sadly, I'm sorry, apologies to Tripura for giving this example. But this internet says that the Nirmahal Palace in Tripura is located on the Rudrasagar lake, which when the temple when the palace was built in 1938, only 12 families were living in the vicinity of the lake. Now there are 2 lakh people who are dependent on the lake for agriculture, watering of agriculture, irrigation, for fishing and other uses. So much so, 40% of the water has depleted in half a century. Effects of overpopulation, one more, is fight for social survival. It becomes the survival of the fittest. There is competition for resources. There is inequality of social status, and it creates gap in the incomes. There are either very rich people and very poor people and nobody in the middle. Something like this happens. One more effect of overpopulation is disasters. Potential risk of disasters is more accidents, diseases. We have already spoken about contamination of water and pollution. So, diseases, accidents are a offshoot of such and calamities are an offshoot of such reasons. One more is unemployment. When there are too many people looking for jobs, jobs will be, and the jobs are few and far between. The jobs have to be distributed among those who want the jobs. So available jobs are fewer, and that's why people need to have self-employment. Self-employment is not easy. There has to be sufficient resources and infrastructure created by the government or by society for self-employment. Now, effects of overpopulation, one more is on education. See, there will be schools, colleges, etc. When there are too many people in requirement of these, the seats will be given to those who are there. Sometimes quality of education may suffer when the intake of a particular college is restricted and there are more people wanting to take admission. Then the college may extend their intake, causing the quality of education to suffer. Providing the education may precede the quality of education, because like we are providing for more people, and that may be the aim. So next is infrastructure. Demand is greater than supply. For example, housing is limited, and then there are more people wanting the housing. So there is compromising on the available infrastructure. Poor accommodation as compared to quality infrastructure. People build up the housing or apartment complexes fast without bothering about the quality, because there is a demand, and this the quality naturally suffers. Deforestation. Deforestation means cutting down trees to make place for agriculture, mining, housing, and such other development human activities. What happens? The effects are rain. Rain is dependent on trees naturally, so rain suffers. Trees get cut down. Water bodies are affected. Water bodies are becoming smaller and smaller, because people use the surroundings of the water bodies for other purposes. All such natural elements are affected. There is lesser living area for the inhabitants, that is animals. Where will the animals go if forests are cut down? They will start coming into urban situations. Animals lose their natural habitat and cannot breed. Now there are some animals, like I think I gave the example of the orangutan last time. They cannot breed unless they are living in their natural habitat. So if they don't breed, they'll become extinct. So it's not only the orangutan, there are many other animals and birds who cannot breed unless they are living in their natural habitat. So flora and fauna will decrease, and many will become many types of animals and plants will become extinct. Moreover, when you cut down trees and there will be some foreign plants growing. Plants which are not foreign means plants which are not supposed to grow there. When the seeds come from other soil, other when construction material is brought, other things, and these can become infestation. They can be harmful growth of harmful plants. That is why I'm saying change in the ecosystem. Then we'll talk about pollution. Pollution means induction of or introduction or infusion of substances that contaminate the environment. Substances can be liquid, they can be gas, or they can be solids. Now, pollution can happen because of energy emittances in the form of heat. So, when you light a fire, for example, in the open air, there is smoke, there is heat, there is light. So, emittances in the form of heat, light, sound, and sometimes radioactive substances or aerosols. Aerosols means whatever is kept suspended in the air. Such a item is called, or such a you know let's call it item only, is are called aerosols. Automobile exhaust creates pollution. Factory smoke and smoke creates air pollution. Effluents are flushed into rivers, so you have water pollution. Dust can be large particles or fine particles. We call them particulate matter number 1, 2, up till 10, etc. So particulate matter that is very fine gets into your, if it is not so fine, it will get into your nostrils and you will sneeze it out. But if it is very fine, it gets into the air, it gets into your system, gets mixed into the bloodstream, and they can be, a lot of like clots and coagulation of blood and such things because of the fine particulate matter. Pollen from flowers, spores from fungus or decay, volcano emissions, wildfires. Wildfires means when forests catch fire. Then, the diseases that can happen are strokes, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, meaning clots, etc., in your blood vessels, trachea, even the esophagus, bronchus. These are all respiratory system. They can all get, clogged. Asthma, which requires clear breathing, clean breathing, can be aggravated, and respiratory infections can happen. Causes of pollution: air pollution affects lungs, gives you cardiovascular diseases, even reduces visibility and blocking sunlight, because it is like aerosols in the air. It can cause acid rain, harms forests, wildlife and agriculture, creates greenhouse gases. Now we have the other pollution is water, soil, noise, radioactive pollution, light and thermal pollution. Air pollution causes are fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, crude oil, etc. Kerosene. So when do we burn them? We burn them for cooking, for transportation purposes. Then the causes could be industrial emissions through factories, wildfires in forests and open air, then microbial decaying process, garbage decays, and then you have emission of all these gases, especially methane. Transportation gives you carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, etc. Open burning of garbage waste, food waste, plastic creates methane and other harmful gases. Indoor air pollution is through cooking. See, here take a look at all the causes that I've given. I've given them because you may get a multiple choice question on this. Which of these is not causing air pollution? And there will be something which doesn't cause air pollution, or it could be all of the above, none of the above. These kind of multiple choice questions can come in air pollution. Anything, any of these slides. That's why I've given all the reasons. Water pollution. Why is water used for agriculture and industry apart from domestic purposes? What happens with water pollution? Drinking water becomes unsafe when effluents are mixed. So basically, water pollution means some effluents are mixed in the water, so drinking water becomes unsafe. The aquatic ecosystem gets damaged. There is something called eutrophication. Eutrophication is when harmful chemicals are mixed in the water and it is becomes unusable, non-potable. Then the contamination of the food chain can happen. If the food chain, that is the plants etc which we eat, or the animals which graze on these plants, they will get the contamination inside them, so the food chain itself can get contamination. For example, if there is eutrophication in the water and animals are drinking the water, plants are sucking the water, they all will contain the chemicals which the human person will eat. Then health and environment will be affected, and then there will be waterborne diseases and others. Next, noise pollution. The World Health Organization recommends noise levels that should be no more than 30 decibels. But are we following it? What happens when repeatedly hearing loud noises can cause loss of hearing? Mental health can be affected. In one movie I saw, they drop drops of water on, they shave a man's head, and they at regular intervals one drop of water falls on his bald head. It becomes torture because after some time the drop of water becomes a very big noise for the human being. So mental health can be disturbed because of noise, sleeplessness, then memory impairments. They can be temporary or permanent brain damage, and attention deficiency can happen. Then there is radioactive pollution. Why does it happen? Nuclear weapons are tested and there will be radioactivity. The nuclear plants, there can be a leak from them. Nuclear waste is not disposed of properly. Medical testing, mining, etc. Can cause radioactive pollution. What happens? Acute exposure means can be fatal. Mild exposure means organ damage. It can be permanent damage, health issues, all this can happen. Causes of noise pollution are construction, transportation, industrial activities, machines working, fireworks, etc. Pollution of light. See, for example, some animals, they said like turtles, etc., they use light to find their way to their habitat. Suppose there is light pollution and the light leads them away from their habitat to some other place, then they cannot breed. If they have laid eggs in their habitat and they cannot find their eggs, what will happen? They'll become extinct. So, light pollution can interfere with the existing ecosystem. How do you control pollution? You control through recycling of items, control air pollution, do solid waste management, see that the garbage and all the other waste is disposed of in the manner in which it should be. Hazardous waste should be specially disposed of very properly. I wouldn't like to say that medical waste is hazardous waste, but hazardous waste is other waste which is dangerous to humans. Then wastewater treatment. Wastewater treatment, if wastewater treatment is done, you can recycle the water. The water which can be potable can be used. There are some apartment complexes in Bangalore which all water they change it and they use it for drinking purposes, cooking purposes also. But sometimes it can be just be made into non-potable water. You can use it for watering your plants. What is waste? Waste is something that does not serve a purpose, something that is not useful. So there is electronic waste. But basically, waste can be biodegradable and non-biodegradable. So you have solid waste, liquid waste, biomedical waste, hazardous waste, and electronic waste. See, why we are talking about all this is we have to learn to dispose of it properly. Biomedical waste should be put in an incinerator and burned properly. liquid waste should be cleaned, filtered, and the water can be used. Solid waste should be made into dry waste and wet waste, and they should be properly disposed of. Electronic waste should be sorted out. Hazardous waste should not come into, like, hazardous waste means, suppose you are making thermometers, and the broken thermometers, they contain mercury. Mercury can contaminate the food chain. One few drops can contaminate an entire lake. So this is hazardous waste. They have to be, in the manner in which it is prescribed in science, they have to be disposed of properly. Now, then we'll come to climate change. Climate change, as you know, happens because of the heating of the environment. We talked about it, how the whole earth itself has become warmer than before. Now, before 1900 and after 1900, if we see, the temperature of the earth has become warmer. The ice caps are supposedly melting, and that is why we have flooding. So, climate change, the socio-economic dimensions are flooding. What happens when there is floods? First of all, loss to property, then disruption of human life. They will have to be displaced. They cannot live in the same area, at least for some time, or maybe it happens every year, so they look for other places to live in. Then there are drinking water issues. Whenever there's floods, drinking water gets contaminated, absolutely. And then clean water issues for other human habitat living. And then food availability and the hygiene of the food has to be considered. Then whatever people have been doing to earn their living, like fishing, agriculture, and other any gainful activity, all this is affected. So, political dimensions of climate change. One good thing is international awareness. The UNFCCC, United Nations Forum for Climate Change and Control, we have had the Tokyo Protocol and the subsequent meetings whereby initiatives like Joint Initiative, Clean Development Mechanism, carbon credits, and all have been introduced. I think I've already spoken about it, or else I'll make a separate, because that requires a whole set of PowerPoints and videos by itself. Then there is national level awareness and cooperation, whereby governments pledge to support and cooperate with the international efforts, and which is a good thing. Aspects of looking for renewable energy are there. People look for renewable energy now. But sometimes there can be compromises on the trade-off between development and greenhouse gas emissions. Developing nations have been telling the developed nations, you are the ones who have created the greenhouse gases. Now you are telling us, don't do industrialization, emissions are harmful for the environment. If we don't industrialize, how will we progress? So there might be a trade-off between development and the greenhouse gas emissions concept. Then there is social impacts like poverty, inequality of income distribution. All this can happen. So these are the political dimensions of climate change.